This is a story of a man who was special. Special not in intangible ways, but in a practical form. He touched many lives, sowed many seeds. He built, he conquered, and he loved. This is his story.
You have taught me to say, it is well with my soul.
Stephen John Reed was born on September 17, 1985, in the Philippines as the last of 4 children to Nelson and Linda Reed. As a young boy, Stephen grew up among the native children, being from a missionary family. During his childhood, the Reed family had witnessed many coups d'etats and other politically motivated violent uproars during the early years of Stephen's life. Terrorism and child abduction were so prevalent that many families received special training to help cope with these political phenomena. Stephen, along with his siblings, grew up in an environment where they were taught how to respond to a terrorist attack or other unimaginable scenarios. As a child, it impacted him in ways that would later help shape the character that many of you know.
It is well with my soul.
I found out about the accident, I don't remember precisely the time, but I think it was either 6 or 7 on that Wednesday, the 16th of September, the day before his 30th birthday.
As we drove into the driveway, Stephen's car was there. And Linda said, "Oh, good, Stephen's home." And then she said, "Oh, I sure hope he didn't take out his bike."
And when he got on the motorcycle, I would start praying because I hated that thing. And I actually told him on several occasions, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something will happen to you.
Well, being a dad, and I was the one that taught him how to ride motorcycles, and we used to ride motorcycles in the Philippines. The 3 of us loved it. So I knew that, oh no, he's out on his bike, but I didn't say anything. Linda goes into the house and she goes around and opens the garage door and looks in, the bike's not there. So she says, he's out on his motorcycle.
As I was trying to pray and worry, Lord, protect him, keep him safe, it was like there was a whisper in my heart, I've got things under control. You can leave him in my hands, it's okay. And it was like, in just a little new way, maybe, I was able to release it and go on with what I was doing. I think it was a matter of minutes after that, there was a knock on the door. And I had left the door open, so the glass door was closed, but I could see who was there. She was kind of standing over to the side a bit, so when I got there, I saw a policewoman. And my heart just sank. I knew something terrible had happened. So I opened the door and let her in. And she said something like, something's happened. And I knew. I didn't know if he was still alive or if he was hanging on to life by a thread or what. So I said, is he alive? And she was up front with me. She said, no, he's not.
It would have been somewhere around 6 o'clock, maybe a little bit later. I heard this, my name was shouted by Linda. And when she doesn't know quite where I'm at, she will shout for me. And usually it's, to find out where I'm at, and by that time of day to come in and have dinner. So my mind said, she's calling for dinner. And I've just got a couple more of these raw wood boards that I need to paint, and I'll just paint here. But deep down inside, I knew that in that call, there was a cry.
Well, we had 3 children already, and for us, that was what we had planned, and that was going to be it. But the Lord had other plans. So Stephen was sent to us, and at first it was, whoa, can we take another one? Can we handle this? Because our kids are real active. But he was a very special gift, and I don't remember how long it took us to just really start to receive and accept that, but I don't think it was too long. And looking back, he was a very special gift. We called him Stephen because that means crown, and that was going to be the final crowning glory, if you would, of our family.
He was one of the blondest kids that I've ever met. He also, if he was in the sun for very long, he would get, I haven't seen the commercials in probably 50 years, but they used to have this copper tone commercial, and he would just tan up, and then he'd have this white head. And so wherever you saw him, and because he grew up in the Philippines, it would be a sea of black hair and dark skin, and then there'd be this little white kid running around with this flopping white hair and a golden tan.
I had the privilege of sitting in the back of the car with my brother. We had a station wagon, a small Toyota Corolla station wagon. And so my parents sat up front, my sister sat in the middle, and my brother and I sat in the wagon part. And we would sit between the bags of luggage, and we would play a game called That's Mine. And where whatever we saw that we liked, we would sort of claim it by, that's mine, that's mine. And I don't know how many fights we got in over claiming like a Mercedes-Benz or something like that. But all of our family trips, it was just fond memories of going to distinct faraway places, tropical beaches.
He was really a sweet, sweet boy. Very tender, very loving, very endearing, very cute. And he's a touch person, and so am I, so he was cuddly.
He had what I distinctly remember as a kid. He had almost this bowl cut haircut, bright blonde hair, and it was like this little bowl sitting on top of his head.
He was very gentle. He had a lot of friends growing up.
I took him to Bible study, I remember, when he was really little, and one of his favorite songs became Trust and Obey, and he just wanted to obey and follow the Lord. He was the one in our family devotions when we talked about the Word of God that would have all the answers to the questions his dad would ask. Just a sweet boy. I think that's a wonderful capsulization of who he was. Sweet.
My chest swells up when I think of my son being this kind of man. But also the other side is, I wish I was that kind of man. He knew who he was in Christ, and it seemed to release him to totally engage himself wherever he was. And when you had Stephen with you, you had all of Stephen with you. He wasn't manipulating or trying to be something to you that he wasn't. He was being his authentic self. And that's something I'm very proud of, that here's my son grows up and he becomes his own person and his own man, and he's comfortable. But it was like, I don't need to prove myself. I know who I am, but I want to be the best I can be. So you get him for instance, I used to always love to watch him play basketball because he had some finesse, but he wasn't, just slamming down the court trying to outmaneuver everybody else. He would come down and he would fake everybody else, and then he'd pitch the ball to another kid and let him put the layup. And it would just drive the coach nuts. Stephen, you gotta finish that. You had that shot. And it was kind of like, I know, but I wanted Ryan to have it. So he comes down, outmaneuvers, goes up, and he throws it to Ryan, and Ryan goes in, he puts it in, or he misses it, and then coach goes, my goodness, Stephen, what are you doing? Gunny, his favorite line was gunny sacks. Gunny sacks. And as a dad, you look at it and you say, boy, he could be high scorer. But it was like, he doesn't need to be high scorer. And for a dad, that really makes you very, very, very proud. But then there's the envious side that, man, when I always needed to beat other kids so I could rub their nose in it, so that everybody look up to me. But it was kind of like, I don't need people looking up to me. Not that he was perfect in that. I'm sure in fact, we were reading some of his diaries, and even in the reflection there, here 20 years later, in the reflections there, he's searching, he's seeking to excel and excel and excel in everything. And yet he always I talked earlier about the core, he always comes back that God is for me. Who can be against me? God has made me, so I should be everything that he's made me to be. So it's like he's got that rock solid core that lets him explore this world with all the stops pulled out, Don't need to be inhibited about anything. Maybe less proud and just more delight. I really delighted my son. Yeah.
He never did anything half-hearted. If Stephen put his mind to something, he gave it his all attention, his enthusiasm, his crazy, funny personality. All of that was thrown into whatever he was doing. And I think that's what makes him so unique, that that passion was exhibited in every aspect of life, be it business, be it relationships, ministry, leading. He emceed 1 million events, he was the go-to. And part of the reason people chose him or asked him to do these things is because he was so exuberant, and he was able to, anything he did, he infused life into it, and that's a really unique trait. You never felt like he was half present, even just in a regular conversation. It was like you had his undivided attention. He was passionate about people, passionate about relationships, and it carried across in life.
Just the joy, the righteousness, peace, and joy that we have in the Holy Spirit, just the joy of God through his life. He brought life because he had life from Jesus. He brought life wherever he went. That's one amazing thing that I could say about his spiritual life.
There's always good things that you see in a lot of people, but he had something special, and I definitely wanted that in my life. Not in the sense that I wanted to copy him, but in the sense that what he had is something that I felt like I needed. His presence, his personality, his character, Then soon after that, I gave my life to Christ, and I kept on, trying to move on and move up to his level. I wanted to be able to give back to Stephen what he gave me.
He really, really, really cared about everything in everybody's lives. It's kind of hard to meet someone that selfless. I think that's probably his strongest trait that I wish I could carry. He was perfect. And it's hard to follow that, you know what I'm saying? It's so hard to follow that. He was so selfless. Right before he passed away, he was working on 2 of his friends' bachelor parties. He was working on his own birthday, which he didn't even do it for his birthday. He was doing it for charity. He was helping this person with their website. He was doing this for somebody else. Like, how do you have enough time in the day to invest in everybody else? And that's, I think, something that everybody close to him admired about him. The fact that he really, really, really genuinely cared about you.
I remember telling Steve, I was trying to talk him into coming to City Church. I'm like, look, come to City Church. I was where I was going. And I was like, I brought up Image, and Niche and Eric. And I was encouraging him, look, it doesn't matter. which one, like if it was city or not. Obviously I was biased because I was going to City Church, but I loved Image and I'd go with a lot of the youth events. And it was that point in his life where he loved, he developed a friendship with Eric at that point. He had met Mish, and where he made that decision, like that's where Stephen made a decision to get planted in Image Church, And I mean, I like to, I'm not like, it was interesting because he got planted and kind of submitted in there. And then what happened, obviously everyone was seeing. I was a part of that, I know Mish and Eric were too. Obviously I introduced those guys to Stephen, but I couldn't be happier with what he did. And if I could, one of the things, if I could see him again, or if I want him to know I'm proud of him, I'm really proud of him. Like meeting him 10 years ago and then up to this day, it's like, I'm super proud of him, the man he became.
He always believed in the best, and he always encouraged me to step out. He's like, hey, do something that you've never done, do something that you've dreamed about, just watch God do something else. And he always pushed me in every aspect of it, whether it was finances, running my ministry, whether it was exposure, whether it was just believing for greater things. There was always something he pushed me in, and he was always there by my side, and he never let me live a mediocre life. He never let me just get through. He was always there and saying, Misha, I know there's more. I know there's more in you. And he was always lifting me up and believing in me. And he was just always there for me. Always there for me.
I think the best way to describe it is, it was truly an honor and privilege to even have his phone number, But to have personally invested his time into me because he saw potential in me, that's something that can't be taken away. His inspiration for me to aspire to be greater than I think I can be was the best gift that I could ever possibly get.
So it's just my 3.5-year-old son and myself at the table, and I answer the phone as my parents, and they're both there, and you can tell they're like, Becky, we try to get a hold of Joel, my husband. We try to get a hold of Joel first. We wanted to talk to him and then talk to you, but we can't get a hold of him. We have something important to tell you. And I could tell there was a sense of urgency and I don't know what the right word is. It wasn't fear, but it was emotional.
And that was frustrating because we couldn't get it home. Ben was in Colombia. We didn't want to call Becky alone and tell her by herself, so we wanted to get hold of Joel, and so he could come home and school and be with her. Same thing with Jenny. We wanted Paul to get hold of him, have him go home, and then tell her. But it ended up we had to talk to them, and their husbands were away, couldn't get home. So I think in some ways it was much, much harder on each of our 3 children because there was no one there.
My parents called, and it was just right to my cell number, and usually they call me through FaceTime. And so I picked it up, and they said, Jenny, can you please call? It's urgent. And so of course I got really nervous. And I thought, either it's Steve, something happened to Steve, or something happened to my sister, Becky.
I was walking out to my car, and I looked at my phone, and there I had all these missed calls from my mom and dad, Reed, and my in-laws, and then from Ben from Colombia, South America. And I thought, oh my gosh, something's going on. So I got in the car, and I was sitting in my car, and I called Ben, and we were FaceTiming because it was the easiest way to communicate. I looked at my husband, and he just had been crying. My husband doesn't cry.
And I was like, hello, you there? You know, kind of like, maybe you can't hear me. You know, it's just quiet. And I'm like, hello, Pastor, hey, are you there? And he's like, yeah, I'm here. And he's just speaking at this quiet voice. And I was like, he's like, is everything okay with you? And I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, just doing my wedding plans. I'm getting married here in 45 days, you know, super excited. And he's like, are you alone? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, something's like, what's going on? And I was in my room at the time, actually. I just got home, was in my room, and he's like, okay, good. He's like, he told me the situation. Stephen Reed was in a motorcycle accident and he died instantly. And I froze. I panicked a little bit on the phone. And, it was just like, it's not true. I was just texting with him earlier that day. We were planning my bachelor party. He was supposed to be in town a few days later. I heard the news. I just dropped to the ground and just began to weep. Couldn't believe it. It was so. It just didn't seem like it was real. It didn't seem like it was real life. And my sister came in the room because I was like panicking. I guess I was like, I don't even remember what happened, but I guess I was like really loud and I was like, no. And my brother's sister walked in the room and she's like, Mish, what's going on? I couldn't say anything. My brother Vic comes in and I'm just crying. He just comes and puts his hand on me and he just starts praying. He doesn't even know what's going on. He's just praying over me. And so I'm finally able to get it out, tell him Stephen's gone.
I was still at disbelief, but I think we all decided to just meet up at Maxim's house and just to like be there for each other. And as I was getting dressed, I just couldn't stop shaking. Like my whole body was shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't control it. And like I just put like one article of clothing on, like I put my pants on and I'd stop. And I'd be like, this can't be real. And I just I keep doing that. I kept doing that until I got fully dressed. And I drove to Bellevue to meet up with Lara and Eva. And then I drove them to Maxim's house. And then from there, I like, it's like a blur, you know, cause you're going through all these like memories with your close friends, and then it starts sinking in, and then like you just all these emotions just come and you don't know what to do with them. And so like you just tears just fall from your eyes, you know, like it's inevitable. But then like you're still asking yourself like, what happened? Like what could have happened? Because he's not the type to just be reckless like that and get into a car accident.
This is not real. This is just a dream or horrible dream, just a thought, demonic thought, because you can accept it. And about 3-4 minutes into it, all I said, Sarah, let's just get together with the family. And so we jumped into the cars. We drove back to her house, and as I was leaving my house and driving, her husband, which is Stefan Reed's brother, Ben, called me from Colombia. And it was hard to talk about it. You know, we talked briefly. I didn't know, I don't even remember what I said to him. I was in such a shock. And the interesting thing is that driving to Ben and Sarah's house, about 15 minutes or so without traffic, I don't remember how I got there.
So that was about Wednesday night. And in the morning I woke up and started driving to town, driving to work. And I get this text. You know, at that point, I wouldn't know if anyone tried calling me or not. Like, I just wouldn't have any service, you know. And I don't think anyone would leave a voicemail like that. But I get a text from a friend that says, "Bro, are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I don't know. It was one of my good friends, and I was just kind of like, that's an unusual text. And then I get another text from a different person, and it says, "I'm so sorry for your loss. Like, we lost another good one," to that extent. And so I'm still at this point, I'm like confused. And then I get a text from a friend who's in Connecticut, Jesus, who's like one of Pedro's best friends. And he was just like, he just straight up, he was just like, "Bro, what happened to Stephen Reed?" And it was just like, I put everything together. And like, you know, I don't know if I would have preferred a phone call from somebody, but it was like, you know, God was preparing my heart. Like, someone was asking if I'm okay. And then I was like, I knew something had happened. I just didn't know who. And then when my friend asked me, you know, what happened to Stephen Reed, I was like, I was thinking, what could have happened to him, you know?
I mean, I was literally just laying there numb in shock, and I stared at a wall for 3 hours straight. I mean, I was laying at the ceiling just staring. And like, just opened up my phone and started reading the text messages and like Facebook, and just started seeing how it was real. Like, the whole day I'm like, this is not real, And I just going on my phone, just scrolling down and just like seeing that this is actually not a joke. And I'm like, this is not a dream, you know? And but then it hit me like, wow, this is real, you know? Stephen's like not here no more.
I just knew. For me, it's like there was no other way. He was healthy, there was no other way. So I just knew. And then that was confirmed. I saw an article that someone sent me. And from there, I just drove up and went to his brother's house, like everybody else. And so that's how I first found out, kind of had a pastor's calling me. His brother's post was weird, but I was like, no, it can't be. So let me sleep, wake up in the morning, it'll be good. And then woke up and a million messages, and it was just, yeah, it's gone. And it was just numb. I went for a walk, just couldn't believe it.
It just puts into perspective what really matters in life. And so I went back in, and I had tears in my eyes, and I told the different officers, I gotta go, I gotta be with my wife. My brother-in-law had an accident. And so that's, you know, I went home, and you know, that's how the news came to me.
And we were all his works of art. We were like a blank canvas ready to go, you know? And what's crazy is, what gives me comfort now is that we're living on with his legacy. Like, his legacy will forever live on in his friends. And just like an artist making a masterpiece, you don't truly admire that masterpiece until the artist is long gone. And I woke up the next day and realized that every single one of his closest friends had become a masterpiece now. And that was the beauty of Stephen. He was the most beautiful person, and his legacy is just something that we won't even know fully how much he's done for years and years to come. That's how powerful it is.
Lynn and I dedicated him to God, gave him back to God, said, thank you for this precious gift. May he live and glorify you. God, how are you going to glorify yourself through all this? What is it you're doing? And it has me in a state of just absolute, like Steve was when he was a little kid, just being so, it's like it's opened my mind, and I'm just so aware that God is doing something amazing. And I just have this curiosity and this fascination to find out what it is. I believe God wanted Stephen home with him. So why did he do it now? Why did he do it in the way he did? Not why you shouldn't have done it, but why did you do it? Because I want to know your heart, God, and what you have in mind with this, and how do I align myself with that? And then then the next question that comes right after that is, how can I help? And I see Stephen having done this. How can I help people know that God who loves us so deeply and so comprehensively?
He truly lived in God's calling. He truly gave his best. And I believe, if I may say, that it was good enough for God, because he truly gave his best. And God deserves the glory. And not because I'm a dry theologian or I have to say this. I just see an amazing display of God's presence and his glory through this tragedy and what happened as a result of a tragedy. I see lives of people changed, transformed. And again, this is a legacy of Stefan, as well as this is the seed that started growing. And so, honestly, I don't have a problem. I don't have a crush of faith. I don't have thoughts that would question God or question God's existence. I just trust the Lord. I just trust him.
As we all knew him, Stephen was by the very definition a great man, which planted many seeds for which there will be a harvest.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through, that I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way, from where we began.
We started.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
First you both go out your way, and the vibe is feeling strong. And what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken. The love will never get lost.